This video is going to be about lattice multiplication. And lattice multiplication is an alternative way of multiplying instead of the way you probably learned earlier. So let's look at an example. What I've got here is 43 times 36. And what I want to do is multiply that first by the traditional method and then the lattice method and compare the two methods. So multiplying 43 by 36, I'm going to write 43. Under that, I'll write 36. I'll put a little multiplication sign, the little X. And now I'll do my multiplying. I've got a 6 times 3 is 18. I've got to carry a 1. I've written the 8. 6 times 4 is 24, and I'm carrying a 1, so that's 25. Now I move into the next number I'm multiplying, which is a 3. And, really what I'm doing is multiplying by 30. So since I'm multiplying by a power of 10, I'm going to write a 0 underneath the 8. That will take care of the 10 part of it. It will also be kind of a placeholder for me. And then I'm going to multiply 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 4 is 12. Now I can add those numbers together. 0 plus 8 is 8. 9 plus 5 is 4. Carry a 1. I'm sorry, 9 plus 5 is 14. I carry a 1. I've got a 2 and a 2 and a 1, so that's a 5. And I've got a 1. So my answer is 1,548. Now here's how the lattice version of that works. I'm going to take the 43 and write it left to right. I'm going to leave a little room between the 4 and the 3. I'm going to write a square. I'm going to make a square underneath that 43. I'm going to divide the square into two columns, one for the 4 and one for the 3. Then I'm going to take the other factor that I'm multiplying by, the 36. I'm going to write that down the right column. And I'm going to divide this square again into two rows, one for the 3 and one for the 6. And then I'm going to draw a diagonal in each of those 4 boxes. The diagonal will go from the lower left corner of the box to the upper right corner. And now I'm going to multiply each of the numbers that I have in the top, going across the top, by each of the numbers that goes across the side, the right side. It doesn't matter what order I multiply them in. So I'm going to start out multiplying 3 by 6. I've got an 18. It's going to go in this lower right-hand box. I'm going to take the 10's power, the 18, and put that in the upper diagonal, the other upper half of the box, and I'll put the 8 in the lower half. I'm going to do the same process every time I have a number that's bigger than 9. So when I multiply 4 times 6, I've got a 24. I'll write the 2 in the upper half of the box, the upper diagonal, and the 4 in the lower diagonal. 3 times 3 is just 9, so I can write that 9. I'll put a 0 in the upper half of the box. And 4 times 3 is 12, so I'll write that as a 1 and then a 2. And now all I've got to do is add down each diagonal, starting from the lower right. So when I add down the first diagonal, all I've got there is an 8. So I'll write an 8 underneath the box. Then I've got a 9 and a 1 and a 4. Well, 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So I'll write the 4 outside of the box, and I'll carry the 1. The next diagonal, I've got a 1 and a 2 and a 2, which is 5. And then in the last diagonal, I have a 1. So reading down the left side and across the bottom, I've got 1,548, which is the same answer I got the first time. So what I want to do is compare these two methods and see why the lattice method works. So here's what's happening. Going back to the first version, when I multiplied the 6 times the 3, I had to carry a 1. I had an 18, I had to remember to carry a 1. In the lattice version, when I multiply the 6 times the 3, I actually write the 1. I write that in what's going to become the second diagonal. And then, going back to the original method, when I multiply 6 times 4, I get a 24, and I had to remember that I carried a 1, which gave me 25. Well, in the lattice method, I multiply 6 times 4, and I just write the 24 because I've already got the 1 written in the same diagonal as the 4. So when I add my diagonals up, I'm going to be adding the 4 and the 1. Okay? So basically, that's what's happening here. What I'm doing is saving my carrying until the final process when I add up each diagonal. Okay? So you might want to pause this a second or run it back and think about how that works just so you're kind of clear on it. What I'm going to do next, though, is I'm going to multiply bigger numbers just to make sure that you've got a good handle on this system. So here I've got 327 times 219. So I'll write that 327, once again leaving enough room since this takes up a bit of room. I'll draw a square under the 327. I'll make a column for each of those 3 digits. And then I'll take the 219, put that in down the right side of the box, and make a row for each of those digits. I'll add my diagonals. And now I'll multiply. Again, I can multiply in any order as long as what I'm doing is multiplying every number that's in the row across the top by every number that's in the column on the side. So 3 times 2 is 6. I'll put in a 0 and a 6. 2 times 2 is 4. I'll put in a 0 and a 4. 7 times 2 is 14. So that's a 1 and a 4. Then I've got 3 times 1 is 3. So that's 0, 3. 2 times 1 is 2. So that's 0, 2. 7 times 1 is 7. 0, 7. Now multiplying by 3, and I'm sorry, multiplying the 3 times the 9, I got a 27. So that's a 2 and a 7. 2 times 9 is 18. 1 and 8. 7 times 9 is 63. Now, the thing to realize about lattice multiplication is you still have to know your multiplication table. You have to know that 7 times 9 is 63. Okay, so the lattice is filled in. Now the last thing to do is to add down each diagonal. So the first diagonal is just a 3. Second diagonal has a 7 and a 6 and an 8. 7 plus 6 is 13. Plus 8 is 21. I'll write the 1, carry the 2. Now I've got a 2 plus a 4 is 6. Plus 2 more is 8. Plus 1 more is 9. Plus 7 more is 16. So I'll write the 6, carry the 1 into the next diagonal. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 4 is 6. Plus 3 is 9. Plus 2 is 11. I write the 1, and I'm carrying a 1. I've got a 1 plus 6 is 7. So my answer is going to be 71,613. And that's about it. So now you've got an option. You can either use the traditional method or you can use the diagonal method. If you like the diagonal method, be sure to practice it a bit just so it becomes automatic and you remember the steps. That's about it for now. Take care. I'll see you next time.